Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So it appears we're looking at another very serious case of ADS, or better known as Asmongold derangement syndrome, where a very intelligent Hassan orbiter had a great idea to start a cancellation campaign not just aimed at Asmongold, but anybody with the thinnest connection to any organization he is a part of. Those people are now being targeted and even labeled as alt-right extremists by default unless they leave the related organizations. We are now doing guilt by association in this case that has now led to many innocent content creators being harassed. Now, who's behind this sort of campaign? Well, it is the Hassan orbiter, Caseytron. Caseytron is someone who's quite infamous for having basically an L factory when it comes to takes and a lot of really bad decisions, especially when it comes to Asmongold. Asmongold was someone she was cool with at one point, but things changed, and if you keyword search Asmongold on her channel, you can see that she has a very serious case of ADS. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is just from the last couple of years, ladies and gentlemen. You get the point, right? And you would think this crybaby who has made a name of being a victim of every circumstance she forces herself into, and also someone who has settled with Ethan Klein over the copyright infringement lawsuits, would have something better to do with her time. You know, you thought she was humiliated enough having to come out and make a public apology to Ethan and Hila, basically admitting she is dumb and abused copyright, and even went as far as to say Hassan basically left her hanging because she thought he was going to swoop in and save her. No, she has more fights to pick, this time once again with Asmongold, where she has this post where she's listing a bunch of brands that Asmongold has an association with, and she is sharing the creator list of mythic talent in particular, using this as an opportunity to try and cancel all of the content creators that work under this agency that Asmongold co-founded. Now, she is quoting a tweet that contains a post and video that is trying to prove Asmongold as a flip-flopper when it comes to war with Iran. The only problem is his statements in 2024 versus 2026 are not about the same line of related topics, and he will explain this himself. Unlike Hassan or people like that, he is directly addressing this sort of criticism and providing what I believe is a reasonable explanation for the difference in statements between 2024 and 2026.
I think that the level that we try to play nation building, especially in places like this, like Libya, for example, back in the day, what the fuck? Or Iraq. No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's too much, man. Way too much. I am so happy this has happened. I am just dramatically, tremendously happy this has happened. I know that, obviously I've talked about it for a long time, about how big of a problem Iran is and everything. I was a big supporter of us bombing them before, and now we're bombing them again. That's right. And this is just amazing. I think that we play too big of a role in it. Yeah, well, the difference here is right here. I said it. Shit. We're too interventionary. We get too involved into other people's business. Exactly. That's why I don't think we should stay there. It's a waste of our money. The people there probably fucking hate us. That's the difference right there. The people in Iran are begging us to come help them. They're begging us to come help them. They're saying, please save us from this dictatorship that is killing us, massacring us indiscriminately, oppressing us for the better part almost of 50 years. That is a massive fucking difference. And also, they are funding terrorism all around the Middle East.
Now, Hassan and his band of rejects could definitely learn a thing or two from Asmongold here, where he was faced with criticism and he directly confronted it and provided a reasonable explanation instead of either burying his head in the sand or resorting to name-calling or blaming it on Israel or whatever Hassan and his orbiters typically do. And I think this sort of dichotomy here, how people in Iran are largely celebrating what's happening versus a bunch of liberals in the US protesting about what's going on, is just really something that reflects the attitudes of people on social media right now in the West versus in Iran, the actually affected region. But anyways, Hassan would weigh in saying the entire MAGA timeline is just this, by the way, referring to that tweet. And I guess expanding upon that, Casey Tron would make her quote saying this in full. Here's a list of all the brands and creators that are partnered with Asmongold's talent agency Mythic Talent. Why they want to be represented by someone who cheers for death every day is beyond me. Should probably start asking them. Which is very interesting coming from someone who orbits Hassan, who, supports terrorist organizations. But anyways, they actually list the creator list from the website. So it's literally listing off all the people that basically she's directing action towards. Let's be real. Okay, let's be real what this is. She is trying to single out Mythic Talent because it's co-owned by Asmongold, and she is trying to single out these content creators and make them do something. Otherwise, they're going to be publicly shamed. Does this sound familiar to the Emiru situation or the other, the fan situation that's currently happening where you have to say something on a subject and your silence becomes twisted as some sort of a statement? Wow, interesting. But of course, in the replies, we would see some people pushing back saying as much as that cockroach disgusts me, sharing a list of people and starting a witch hunt against them isn't something I would do. Where Casey Tron says, where did I say witch hunt then? I said, ask them why they're represented by an alt-right extremist. It's a fair question. Now, an alt-right extremist to Casey Tron is anyone a hair's length away to the right of Mao Zedong. But yeah, she is starting a witch hunt. She is sitting here acting like she's just asking questions. No, this is a direct call to action. She is putting that list there for a reason. She wants these people to be harassed. She wants these people to be put in a corner where if they don't say something about this or leave the organization, they are going to be guilty by association with Asmongold, who, by the way, is just a co-owner. In case you don't know what Mythic Talent is just an agency that helps content creators find sponsorships and opportunities like that. They don't direct what you do. It's not some hands-on organization in that sense. They're not directing the content. They're not really even approving the content. They're just trying to enhance your sponsorship opportunities and things like that. It's very hands-off. Here's another comment. This person said, everyone should be aware of who the people they support are in bed with so they can make informed decisions. Exactly. And Casey Tron says, right. Like, I don't want to see any of these creators posting anti-war, anti-ICE narratives when they're represented by a alt-right wing extremist. Save your words. Let's see some action. Which, I mean, like, what? So I guess the words don't matter. So if they come out and say something that serves the narrative, because, by the way, it's not about sharing your opinion. It's about sharing the right opinion in this case. So you have to be anti-ICE. You have to be anti-war. Otherwise, you're doing wrongthink, according to Casey Tron, right? And, but she says it's not even enough. You can't even save yourself with words anymore. You have to take action. Which, what do you mean by action if words aren't good enough? That means leave the organization. So with Casey Tron, the guilt by association is so strong that you can't even speak your way out of it. You literally have to leave. That's the only option. So if you don't leave Mythic Talent right now, according to Casey Tron, you are someone who is aligning with a right-wing extremist. You're basically just as bad as him. That is a crazy set of guilt by association. And look at some of the people that are being targeted in the replies. You can see this post saying, is this really what Twitch is now? I'll assume they're all Hitler Youth racists under there. Referring to several popular VTubers who are very anti-problematic, by the way, but they're being singled out in this case because of Casey Tron. Casey Tron, defender of women, is now throwing women like this who are apolitical into the mix and leaving them up to harassment and slander because she is putting up this proposition that if they don't say something, or in this case, I guess they have to leave. If they don't leave, they are aligned with Asmongold in all of his beliefs. It's absolutely insane. It's like saying if you're on Twitter and have Twitter Blue, for example, you're aligning with the entire view system of Elon Musk. It's so ridiculous, but it continues on. Someone calls out KCO, calling him a bum. And Caseytron says, I think he's someone who should definitely leave the Mythic Talent Agency. KCO has always kept politics out of his content. He just wants to spread joy and laughter. It's a stain on him being represented by an alt-right extremist, and I think goes against his own standards. So you're not really recommending anything. You're telling him he has to leave. Otherwise, he is represented by the belief system that Caseytron created in her very diluted head. This is what we're working with here. Totally not a witch hunt, by the way. Totally not a witch hunt. Do what I say, or I'm going to label you as an extremist. Yeah, totally not a witch hunt. Here's another comment saying, just so people are aware, the creator pages are not full up to date. I know of at least one creator that is ending their partnership with Mythic Talent that is on that list. And Caseytron says, whoever it is, they need to make it clear they want taken off the registry of people represented by an alt-right extremist. Oh my gosh. Glad they left. I suggest others do quickly before their business starts getting affected by Asmongold's dangerous rhetoric. Wow, are we really bringing up dangerous rhetoric? You wouldn't want to be associated with anyone who has dangerous rhetoric, right? Like this guy? Like Hassan Piker, who literally within the last day or two was instructing his audience on more effective ways to commit acts of terror and even pointing them in the direction as to where they can purchase drones to launch terror attacks, and even giving the price and the locations you can purchase them online, and even claiming it's a very simple process. Do you mean dangerous rhetoric like this? Because you're awfully silent on this one. I think this is a no-brainer. I think this is just insane behavior and dangerous rhetoric. Like, this is actually dangerous rhetoric. Anything to say about that? Care to comment? Oh, right. Okay. So your association with him clearly means you agree with this sort of thing. All right. Got it. By Caseytron logic. And I'm glad she brought up this whole thing, right? We're doing guilt by association for working under the same agency. What about Night Media? What about Night Media? Now, why do I bring up Night Media? A lot of people don't even know who this is, right? This is a talent management agency. It's basically Mythic Talent, just probably on a bigger scale, right? They're there to give sponsorships or help facilitate sponsorships with creators, and they're there to try to give additional opportunities. They're not there to direct what you can or can't do with your streams. They're there to give you additional opportunities to enhance what you already have. And guess who's a part of Night Media? Oh, it's Asmongold and Hassan Piker. I can't believe this. Yeah, they're under the same roof. This has been a thing for quite some time. It turns out people with very different belief systems can coexist under a talent agency. Who would have thought? Are we going to say that there's something wrong with Night Media? That they need to say something? They need to set values? They need to part ways with some of their talents? Or their talents, in this case, have to say something about the management's view? Crazy. This is such a stupid standard. The attacking of sponsorships and guilt by association is the lamest behavior you will ever see. It is the desperate acts of people like Caseytron who cannot formulate any sort of a real discussion or discourse on anything they pretend to care about. Instead, they go after people with very ridiculous tactics like guilt by association and attacking sponsors as well. Now, of course, Caseytron would add on to original post saying, there are a lot of creators on this list that I love and I think they are great. That's why I think it's important that they speak out against the brand risk Asmongold is causing them. Wait a second. I thought words didn't matter at this point. I thought it was action. So you want them to speak out against Asmongold, but you don't want them to even bother with anti-ICE or anti-war statements because it doesn't even matter at this point. So it seems like it's pretty clear what you want out of this. It's not some sort of a sense of justice, you just want to go after Asmongold. And you're using all these people as proxy. They're just pawns to you in the way, essentially. You're weaponizing them. You don't even want them to have the sort of anti-Asmongold political rhetoric that you're hoping to achieve. No, it's about just dunking on Asmongold and causing him harm and causing him to be isolated and have talents pull away from the agency. This is personal. This is not about doing the right thing. This is because Casey Tron is obsessed with Asmongold, and she's using this as a vehicle to do that and to achieve some sort of harm on him. But she continues on saying, being represented by a company whose main figurehead is an alt-right extremist is not good for business. Many of these creators are apolitical in practice, not talking about politics, yet they're associated with a man who's making extremely harmful political takes every day. Being represented by Asmongold, I think, goes against many of their own business practices and standards. Asmongold needs to either step down from Mythic talent, or people need to start leaving for other agencies that don't jeopardize their business image. Interesting. The only one who seems to be doing this is you. Nobody cared at all. This is a talent agency helping people get sponsorships. It's not that deep, okay? The opinions of Asmongold as a co-founder or the opinions of even the talent don't really matter. They're there to provide a service to these content creators. And now you're saying, if you're a part of this, well, you represent everything Asmongold does. Again, guilt by association. And also, you can see there's a demand here. She wants him to step down. It's really it's kind of a two-option prong here for Casey Tron. You step down, or your business is going to fail because all these people are going to leave. And she's trying to impress that upon the talents, that this business is falling apart. You better get out now. Yeah, she knows exactly what she's doing. It's manipulative. And again, this isn't about achieving some sort of good or anything like that. She's doing this out of spite of Asmongold. This is all just about her vitriol that she directs towards Asmongold. Nothing else. Don't be fooled. Now, of course, again, thanks for bringing up Night Media by proxy here. Night Media is in an interesting situation because the CEO recently wrote an article about Twitch viewbotting. Now, you can find this article, right? You can read through it, but we're going to go through kind of the TLDR, right? So, bots finding ways to be undetected. Twitch doesn't enforce because more views looks better for advertisers. Claims he did his own botting research and found that $180 a week can get you 750 concurrent viewers. No downside to botting if you're in the top 500 streamers. If you're not botting, you're at a disadvantage because everyone else is. So that is the CEO of Night Media, who apparently thinks botting is a no-lose situation. Interesting. Now, does Hassan have to say something about this directly? Does he need to condemn Night Media's CEO? Otherwise, he is someone who's okay with botting, which would be very interesting because, well, there's a history here. Hassan has routinely accused Asmongold of view botting. Well, it seems like the call might be coming from inside the house, Mr. Piker.
I'm not blaming Hassan on this, but the idea that you're going to go around and constantly delegitimize and accuse me of viewbotting when your channel is getting follower botted, I don't know if your channel is getting view botted or not. I have no idea. I would never accuse somebody of that. His channel doesn't look like it's being view botted. But what I will say is that it's absolutely
it doesn't look like it's getting view botted.
It is. It's undeniable.
Well, yours does.
This is happening. Look at this.
Where yours does, though. Yeah, we fucking purge bots regularly. He knew I would come in. Whoa, follower botted.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, we'll look at this here in a minute. And so we got one more. Ooh.
He does this every time.
He's being follow botted.
He knows he's getting botted.
He is. He's being follow botted. This is undeniable.
Yes. I have a lot of fucking Nazi freaks that try to hate raid. That's why we have a slow stream and a follow restriction. We purge them every day.
That clip is particularly hilarious because he literally found his way into Asmongold's chat just to cause trouble and then got exposed as being a view botter. He thought he got away with it. He thought, aha, see, Asmongold has no proof. And then Asmongold pulled up the proof that something is very unnatural. And that's something that Asmongold has never denied for himself. A lot of the big streamers are being botted. And he doesn't even say that, oh, this is Hassan's fault. No, he's saying that there's outside sources botting people like Hassan. And I think that is a very real thing. And it's not something you can directly pin on Hassan unless you have some real evidence. But there is something unnatural. But whenever this is brought up, whenever view count is brought up, Hassan gets distraught. Okay, he is obsessed with numbers. Do not be fooled. That is the most important currency in his entire life. Numbers, view counts. That matters more than anything else. And just back in January, when he saw that his numbers were getting crushed by Asmongold, despite Asmongold dual streaming and splitting up his audience onto Kick and Twitch, Hassan says when Twitch purges bots, Asmongold lost half of his viewership in 2 days, referring to a bot purge back in August. And of course, Asmongold provides the actual facts that verifiably prove Hassan wrong. And then Hassan continues with the cope saying, I like that your info shows your view botting. You admit to it, but was wrong on the percentage of bots purged. Glad you're finally out of the 43% active viewership gutters you're in, though. Your time as a right-wing outrage farmer is coming to a close soon, though. Midterm pivot. It's like he literally, he saw this image and something completely different showed up in his eyes, in his mind. But Asmongold would ratio him with a picture of a seal, which I think was just really the best response. But Hassan eventually would get a taste of his own medicine recently. In case you don't remember this, he got botted to the point of reaching over 340,000 live viewers. And this was his response to getting botted.
Asmongold chatters. Now Asmongold chatters can fucking cry and be like, well, I guess Hassan is the smarter person. Clearly, because he's view mogging Asmongold. That's how it works, right? That's how it works, right, chatters? You know, the bigger the number, the better the person. The bigger the number, the more accurate their commentary. That's how it works, right? So how strange that I brought up the very obvious, malicious, flagrant botting going on, only to get botted myself. We'll find out who's doing the botting. We'll find out who's doing the botting when they start chirping about it on Twitter. Like if it's like DGG and Dan Stalkman and all those guys who are like, Hassan is clearly botting, blah 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 blah. Then we'll know who's responsible for it. Why did these people think you have the power to win or lose elections? Because I'm at 300K right now, so. Oh,
but of course, when Asmongold is being accused of botting and provides evidence to disprove a lot of Hassan's claims, he's crazy, he's coping, whatever. But then, when Hassan is getting botted, he thinks there's something nefarious going on, and that it's actually probably Asmongold's fault, and that Asmongold is just trying to cope with the fact that his numbers are lower than Hassan, when in reality, he is absolutely destroying Hassan in pretty much every metric imaginable, which really wouldn't be a talking point unless Hassan just would stop bringing it up. He brings it up every 2 seconds, but this whole thing is an absolute joke. Casey Tron is grasping at straws. She has nothing to actually bring to the table to dispute any of the quote-unquote extreme takes that Asmongold is making. Instead, she's resorting to guilt by association, call-out lists like this, and she is trying to financially ruin not only Asmongold, but these mythic talent content creators who have absolutely nothing to do with anything. They're just content creators doing their own thing and getting help with sponsorships and other opportunities through this agency. And now they're being called basically alt-right extremists by default, unless they leave the organization or directly speak out against Asmongold. Totally ridiculous. But anyways, that's going to do for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.